After 4 years, am I in love or just attached? I asked if she was still attracted to me, yet I haven't felt desire for months. Now I'm drawn to a girl, Sarah, who gets my heart racing. I really, really like her, but breaking up feels impossible. What should I do? I have been with my girlfriend for almost 4.5 years. We met online in a game through mutual friends. At that time, she was living in another country with her parents, even though she is originally from the same country as I am. Due to financial reasons, she had moved abroad and lived there for 10 years. I consider myself an open person when I feel comfortable around others, and I believe that is exactly what made me stand out that night, which prompted her to start a conversation with me. That is how we began talking. At first glance, I was not particularly physically attracted to her, even though she is a beautiful girl. We did not share the same interests, and we did not seem to have much in common, quite the opposite, actually. Still, I had never been in a serious relationship until that point, and I felt a need for someone close, someone with whom I could confide. She just happened to be that person. Despite our differences, we continued talking, perhaps because I have this ability to adapt to the vibe and personality of the person with whom I am engaging. That helped me remain engaged in our conversations, even when we lacked shared passions or topics. We continued our conversations, and eventually we began a long-distance relationship that lasted for a short time. She was in university, repeating a year for the second time, and found herself in a difficult and uncertain situation regarding her future. She confided that she had considered returning to our home country to continue her studies but had not yet made a decision. In the end, she chose to come back, and I was one of the reasons that influenced her decision. To summarize, she moved back, we moved in together into her parents' apartment here, and we have been living together for 3.5 years. Now comes the difficult part. From the beginning, I felt that she was not exactly my type of woman, but I grew attached to her, and I know I loved her, maybe I still do. We have shared some very beautiful moments together, and the photos and videos we have make me smile and feel grateful for the time we spent together. Regarding the intimate aspect of our relationship, which is essential for me, I have always been the one to take the initiative. And when I say everything, I mean everything. In these 4 years, there was only one occasion when she took the initiative, and that was when she was under the influence of alcohol. Other than that, if I did not make the first move, weeks could pass without anything happening. Over time, I have made small comments and hinted that it would feel normal for her to take the initiative as well, because the lack of interest made me feel unwanted. But nothing changed. Our sexual life was infrequent, 1, 2, perhaps 3 times a month, and I began to doubt myself, even though whenever it did happen, we both reached climax. At one point, we had a more serious argument over something trivial. After reconciling, I chose to express what had been bothering me for a long time. I asked if she was still sexually attracted to me, if she enjoyed our intimate moments, and if I was doing something wrong. I explained that her lack of initiative made me feel undesired. Over the years, I gained about 20 kilograms and wondered if that had contributed to her disinterest. Therefore, I started going to the gym and lost weight from 90 kilograms to 70. Her response was that she was attracted to me, that nothing was wrong, and that she was simply shy. She promised to try to change things, but that effort lasted only 2 weeks before everything returned to the previous state. I began to believe we simply had different libidos and that there was never a genuine connection during sex. It felt like it was merely happening to keep me happy, not because of mutual desire. It has been 8 months since that conversation, but the doubts began long before. Around the 3-year point in our relationship, I started questioning whether I could spend my entire life with her. The honest answer was, I do not know. The thought of ending the relationship crossed my mind numerous times. I even found myself looking at other women with a much stronger desire than what I felt for her. As time went on, I felt I no longer found her physically attractive. There were instances of intimacy when I could not climax. Embarrassingly, I had to think about someone else to keep going. The sex felt lackluster, perhaps because I did all the work or because I no longer felt any desire. I know I have lost sexual interest because it has already been 2 months since our last moment of intimacy, and I feel absolutely nothing, no desire. On another note, I continued my gym routine, and 2 months ago, a girl there, let's call her Sarah, whom I had noticed before, asked for my Instagram. Being in that kind of situation for the first time, I gave it to her. I did not mention that I had a girlfriend, although it was evident from my profile. That is how everything began. To clarify, I have never hidden anything from my girlfriend, and I did not cheat. I even informed her about what happened, and we laughed about it together. However, at the gym, Sarah and I continued to have occasional small conversations. I noticed we had many common interests: music, games, biking, gym workouts, hiking, anime, movies, and most importantly, a love for cats. These are things I never had the chance to share with my girlfriend, who does not even want to consider having a cat in the house. Sarah is a girl with a difficult past, but she is very mature, independent, simple, non-materialistic, and shares a similar sense of humor to mine. For the first time in my relationship and in my life, I began messaging someone online, reacting to her stories, replying, and starting conversations. However, all of the conversations were initiated by me. I did not understand what was wrong with me, but I sensed that I was acting improperly. I made a few flirtatious remarks, and although she did not reciprocate, she told me it was not appropriate and that I should focus on my relationship. That is how I ended up explaining my situation to her. Surprisingly, she revealed that she had gone through something similar, except in her case, her ex did not provide her with any attention or love at all. In my relationship, we have always been attentive and present for one another. Sarah suggested it would be better to stop talking until I figured things out, but I told her that I did not want to because embrace yourself. I really, really like her, and I want to make her happy and give her all the love and attention she never received. I understand how this sounds, but what I felt was beyond my control. Even though she insisted we should only be friends and claimed she lost interest upon discovering I had a girlfriend, she later admitted that she does have feelings for me too, but does not want to express them while I am still in a relationship. I genuinely believe she is not the reason I started considering a breakup. That contemplation existed long before she entered the picture. I think she simply provided the clarity I needed. Perhaps it is not that I do not love my girlfriend, but rather that I love her, yet I am not in love with her. Even so, I still do not know. I have thought about many different scenarios. If she were the one to tell me that she loves me but that we are not right for each other, would I feel relieved or heartbroken? I tend to think it would be a relief, but I am uncertain. If I could tell her that I wish to break up and somehow ensure she would not suffer, would it feel like a weight off my shoulders, or would I regret it later? Probably the former. But I know I would still experience sadness and fear. Thus, I still do not know. I do not even know if I am acting and thinking out of lust. And here I am, I do not know what to do. The thought that I could hurt my girlfriend gives me a lump in my throat. I care for her deeply. I want the best for her. I want to see her happy. Recently, I have found myself looking at pictures of her, and when I see her smile, I feel like I am losing my breath. It fills me with both warmth and sadness. I feel like smiling and crying simultaneously. She does not deserve what is happening. I am afraid that I might make a mistake I will regret for the rest of my life. She has no idea that something is wrong. From the outside and from her perspective, our relationship appears perfect. Our parents like each other, we have mutual friends, and I know she loves me deeply. She expresses it every single day, but me, I do not know anymore. I have involuntarily started feeling irritated when she speaks to me. We do not really have anything left to discuss, but I am scared. I do not know if it is simply monotony and it will pass, or if it is a clear sign that I should leave. The only thing I know is that I have feelings for the other girl as well. How did I realize this? Recently, Sarah went abroad on an Erasmus exchange, and although she assured me nothing was happening there, when I saw a story she posted with one of the guys from the group, the one she mentioned she gets along well with, it felt as if she was teasing me, perhaps attempting to hasten my decision-making. I felt emptiness in my chest, fear of losing her, and even jealousy. She continues to tell me and somehow jokes that she is not obligated to wait for me and that she has many options. And she is right, she is not obliged to anything. Nothing binds her to me, and that thought terrifies me. Am I holding on out of love or out of fear? Story 2. At just 15, I feel like the parent while my mom lets my little sister run wild. "You're not the parent," she yells, yet mom ignores tantrums. I'm drowning in responsibilities while they binge junk and screens. Will my sister learn the hard way? My mother is divorced and single. I have a 10-year-old sister, and I feel like it is always them against me. I understand that my mother works hard as a single mother with a demanding job from home, but some of her negative habits are really being transferred to my sister. There is a lot to unpack, and I am unsure where to begin. Therefore, I will provide examples of events that have frustrated me and made me feel this way, along with some context. My mother is not lazy, she works hard. I have come to recognize this, so now I do the majority of the dishes, laundry, and cooking whenever I can. I always ensure to clean up 100% of the messes I create and also make an effort to tidy up the majority of other people's messes. My mother has not asked me to do any of this. I have just decided that I should not sit around being unhappy with everything and should contribute. I realized this about 2 years ago. The issue is that my mother has unrealistically low expectations. She genuinely told me that if I lived with her until I was 30 years old and did nothing except eat fast food and play video games, she would be happy as long as I was happy. While that is a kind sentiment, it implies that if I chose to be lazy and did not want to pursue anything with my life, she would let it happen and would not encourage me to be a better person. I worry this attitude is significantly affecting my 10-year-old sister. Our parents divorced when I was around her age. However, I grew up with much higher expectations than she has, and I believe that is why I am the way I am now. My sister is currently in the developmental stage I was in when they divorced, but she has very different circumstances. I am concerned about how this will affect her as a person. We spend 1 week at my father's house and 1 week at my mother's house every fortnight. It is a 50-50 arrangement. At my father's house, my sister maintains a neat room without being asked to clean it, makes her bed daily, and might even have a cleaner room than I do. She wakes up early, prepares her own breakfast, and puts her plate or bowl away. However, she still tries to cut corners when she has to complete other tasks. But it is a significant improvement in difference. At my mother's house, her clothes are always scattered across the floor, and she still has not unpacked her suitcase. My sister is also noticeably more irritable at our mother's house, even though she prefers being there. My 10-year-old sister is not expected to clean her own room, clear her own plate, shower daily, brush her teeth every day, or comb her hair. It is acceptable when she throws tantrums and has outbursts over her iPad. I am not expected to do these things either, except for the tantrums and outbursts, but I am not a small child, so I do not need to be reminded to brush my hair, teeth, or take showers. I understand that if I do not clean my plate, it will remain dirty and there will be no clean plates for tomorrow. My sister does not grasp this. She is a typical child, so naturally she does not engage in these activities unless she is explicitly instructed to. I do not believe that attitude will change as she matures if she is not eventually taught that actions have consequences, which is unlikely to happen with my mother's current parenting style. I have attempted to tell my sister to put her plate away, brush her teeth, take a shower, or clean her room, but she simply yells at me, saying, "You are not the parent. Stop acting like the parent." The reality is that the parent is not going to enforce these responsibilities. We returned from a holiday in another city, which was very nice thanks to my mother's hard work. However, we have been home for a week and neither of them has unpacked their suitcases. Because my mother did not unpack any items from her suitcase, which contained my sister's toothbrush, my sister went 4 days without brushing her teeth until I inquired with my mother about the location of my sister's toothbrush. One night my mother ordered sushi and I did not want any, so I made myself a sandwich. I was upstairs when I heard the dog barking at the door frequently, so I came downstairs and saw both my mother and sister on their devices in front of the TV. I asked if the food had arrived yet and my mother looked up at me saying, "Yes, it probably arrived just now, that is why the dog is barking." Then she asked me to go get it. It genuinely irritated me that they did not even get up to retrieve the food they ordered, knowing it had arrived and was causing the dog to bark. She has an unreasonable double standard regarding me and my sister. My sister can use foul language with my mother, yell at her, and throw full-blown public tantrums, and my mother merely becomes quiet, waiting for my sister to leave before she gently discusses it with her later or chooses not to mention it altogether to avoid provoking her. When I ask her about this behavior, she claims she is just choosing her battles. If I ever use a negative tone or exhibit a bad attitude, my mother becomes extremely upset with me, getting all worked up and swearing and saying hurtful things. I think she becomes overwhelmed from dealing with my sister, which causes her to lose control when I do anything. I also think I remind her of my father. I have always felt that my sister is a miniature version of her, while I am a miniature version of my father. Our holiday morning routine involves me waking up at 5:30 a.m. to walk the dog. I typically eat breakfast at around 7:00 a.m., which is usually when my sister comes downstairs. She immediately hops on her iPad or the TV without drinking any water or preparing herself breakfast. When I tell her to eat something, she claims there is nothing she wants to eat. I go upstairs around 8:00 a.m. and find my mother lying awake on her phone. I inform her that my sister is awake and downstairs and refuses to eat anything. My mother promises to make my sister breakfast, but when I return 30 minutes later, my mother is still lying there scrolling through her phone. I tell her it has been 30 minutes, and when I come back another 30 minutes later, I remind her again and she finally goes downstairs. Then my mother defrosts a frozen pizza, and by 10:00 a.m., my sister finishes the entire thing without even getting off the iPad. My mother believes everything is due to hormones. She claims she is trying to lose weight but cannot because of her hormones. Yet I come downstairs in the morning to find a half-empty jar of Nutella on the counter. I ask her about it as non-accusatorily as possible, and she admits to eating it the night before. It seems she does not connect the fact that her diet might be the reason she cannot lose weight, not her hormones. She also thinks she cannot sleep at night because of her hormones, and not because the first and last things she does before and after sleeping involve scrolling on her phone for hours. She loses her temper because of her hormones. The friend's cat is gaining weight due to its hormones rather than being overfed. My sister is being difficult because of her hormones, not because she spends 12 hours a day on her iPad. I feel as though my mother wants me to fail. It appears she does not want me to succeed. She seems to want me to be unhealthy. I choose not to eat an entire pizza, so when I feel I have had enough, I put my plate away and brush my teeth. She responds with, "Oh, come on, have one more slice," or something along the lines of, "Are you moving that pizza away to avoid binging on the whole thing?" I have never had the habit of binge eating, and I feel like she is projecting her issues onto me. She also does not prevent my sister from consuming unhealthy food or excessive quantities, such as eating an entire spanakopita for an afternoon snack, a whole tiramisu, a whole package of Tim Tams, or an entire bar of chocolate. She says nothing at all. When I exercise, she finds fault with it, saying, "You exercise too much," or "Doing jiu-jitsu more than 4 times a week is unhealthy." If I have any kind of treat, she acts as if I am finally giving in, which I am not. I am merely enjoying things in moderation. Yes, I occasionally relish an ice cream, but that does not mean I am constantly craving it until I finally succumb to my deep desires. I feel that whenever I attempt to nudgingly steer someone toward making better choices, I am always met with, "You are not the parent." But when will the parent step up? I really need advice on how to articulate all of this to a therapist and how I can move forward and rectify these issues. Whenever I talk to my mother about improving things, she gets angry, shuts down, and adopts a victim mindset, refusing to discuss it. If I speak to my father about it, he becomes more critical of my mother and is generally unhelpful, making it less likely for my mother to listen to him. Who should I talk to and what can I do? In summary, my mother's unhealthy habits and low expectations are being passed on to my 10-year-old sister, and I fear this will negatively impact her as a person, potentially leading her to learn the hard way like getting bullied or something similar. And I do not want that for her.